extra course of 4 years, so I'm gonna figure that problem out later. But first of all, I want to say thank you to Nate and the rest of you all for inviting me out here to share a few words with you guys. I always want to say thank you because you're taking your free time to come, one, be a member of this club, or two, just stay here and be engaged with what's going on in the community. So first of all, thank you to you guys. I'll just take a couple minutes to share a little bit about myself, why is I'm running, what does I hope to accomplish and do for you all serving our county commission, and just a little bit about me on a personal level. So, why? I personally get asked that question a lot, and I think a lot of people, when you're looking at a candidate you don't know, want to know, what is your motivation for standing up here and doing this? And Commissioner Russell's in here; she's been in the role for a few years, and I think a lot of people that have served as commissioners or public office general can say, oftentimes it is a thankless role. It's a lot of work. But for me, the reason I'm standing up here, to serve and represent you all, is because I think who serves on a local level truly matters. And when I look at my own experience growing up and living in Knox County my entire life, I am a product of this community at all levels. I'm a product of people that were involved with me, coaching me in Little League growing up, my teachers at West High School and the University of Tennessee. I'm a product of the people I've had the fortune to interact with in the business community here. I'm a product of people that have served us as local officials now and in the past to make this community what it is. And, sorry. And for me, when I think about this race, for me, it's not about the next 4 years, it's not about the next 8 years. It's about what does Knox County in 10, 20, 30 years look like, so that my children and my future grandchildren have the same opportunity to grow up in a great community that I was fortunate enough to grow up in. Now, when I look at Knox County, I will say this. I think we're incredibly fortunate to live in the community which we do. Knox County and Knoxville is one of the greatest communities in the United States. And my motto for this campaign has been, how do we get proactive instead of reactive about maintaining what makes Knox County a special place to live? I mean, you guys can look around you see this every single day. We're one of the fastest growing communities, not just in the state of Tennessee, we're number 2 in Tennessee, but in the United States. And because people are attracted to this community for the people here, the geography, the fact that we're a low tax community. It's a lot of reasons people want to come here. But with that, we have a lot of growth demands that are being put on this county. We're adding roughly 4,000 to 5,000 new residents here each year, which, to put that in scope and perspective, is the amount of people that live in the entire neighborhood of West Hills we're adding year after year to this community. That's increased demands on our roads, our infrastructure, our educational system, our EMS and safety services. And as I look towards serving this role, what we've done historically isn't necessarily going to be the formula that works for Knox County moving forward. So how do we get proactive about planning for what we want Knox County in the future to look like? I can tell you from a non-policy perspective, the number most important thing for me in this job is not anything that has to do with myself, it has everything to do with you all, especially as a county-wide commissioner, to serve and represent, and most importantly, listen to each and every one of you. One word I don't really like oftentimes is the word politics, and because I think it defeats the purpose of what these positions are, which is public service. And the core of that is serving and representing the interests of each of you the best of my ability, and that means showing up, listening, and being as prepared as possible. I can't sit here and tell you, me as an individual has every solution to every problem this community faces. But what I can tell you is I will show up every single day, work my absolute hardest to make sure that all of us get to continue to enjoy this great place that all of us call home. A little about me on a personal level, since I haven't met a lot of you. Like I said, I grew up here, grew up in the Rocky Hill community, which is where I still live, my parents still live. Graduated West, went on to graduate from the University of Tennessee with my degree in accounting, and throughout my career I've done a couple different things. I started out working in a Big 4 public accounting firm as an auditor. Quickly realized I don't love staring at computer screens all day, and transitioned out. I spent the vast majority of my career in healthcare sales. During that time, I've also built a real estate investment business that I still own and operate. And currently I'm a student physician at Big Memorial University, just down the road here, training and studying to become a physician in the next couple of years. Public service, something that's always been really important to me. Growing up, I was involved in leadership and community service organizations, and the idea of running for office came to me, back in high school, not because I wanted to be in the spotlight, but because I saw how much a personal impact that had on me, the personal impact that had on me through helping others and making the world around me a better place. So I've heard something the other day that really rung true with me. Was You know, some people have brains that like solving hard problems, and I think that's always been the case for me. I've always liked doing difficult and challenging things, and you know, the same motivation that pushed me to pursue medicine as a career is the same motivation that has pushed me and continues to push me to serve in this capacity. And it's that mindset that when I look back on my life 20, 30 years from now, what do I want to be proud of that I did at this juncture? And I cannot think of a single better thing to use with my time, efforts, and energies than making the place that I grew up, the place that I call home, and the place that I continue to call home the best place it possibly be, and do my absolute best job. And I promise this, to leave Knox County in a better place than I found it, because we deserve that, and you all deserve that. So appreciate you guys having me out. I think we'll probably let Mrs. Glenn come speak, and you guys, any questions you guys want? Yeah. I'll turn it back over to Ms. Rowe. Good to do that, or you want to wait till Tim speaks?
No, we're going to go ahead and do this.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions?
Good,
Yes.
Garrett, so as I've talked to people about your race, one of the things that has come up again and again is how you're gonna have time to be an at-large county commissioner and go to medical school at the same time. So if you could kind of address that, maybe allay some people's fears about that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a very fair question. I mean, Dr. Frazier's gone through the process, and I think anybody that has, it is a lot of time. But the reason I waited to announce right for this is I just started this past July, so I'm about finishing my first year. Was I want to make sure at an individual level, I did not want to put myself in a position to run for this if I don't think I have the capacity to do it, because it is a disservice to each and every one of you in this room if that was not the case. Mark, what I'll tell you is, when I ran for county commission last time, I was working as a full-time sales rep and doing real estate. I would honestly say my time commitments are probably equivalent to when I ran last time. I think if people haven't gone through the process, I didn't know until I started it either, what that true demand was like. It is a little bit different now. I do most of it remote. I'm probably on, at LMU 4 to 5 hours a week in person, so everything else I do is largely self-paced outside of the few handful of times I have to be over there. So I don't really see the complication from a time perspective, and I'm young, I'm single, I've got a ton of energy, I like working, and I think long and short of it is I would not be putting myself in a position it would be unfair to myself and unfair to you if I didn't think I could do this job to the absolute best of my ability.
Next question.
Sir.
Obviously, a lot of growth in infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's get down to brass tacks on taxes.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're going to vote on taxes.
In what capacity?
In capacity, there's going to be a property tax. Oh, somebody's going to be doing that. Spending's been out of control. Growth is out of control. Infrastructure here is not. A lot of people are moving out of the community that are really key here. By moving out, they're smart enough to keep their houses and they're buying farms and other properties. So, if you're going to be representing us as a conservative Republican, and I like you having an accounting background, so you ever going to vote for a tax increase?
So I will sit up here and say one thing. My goal, my plan is to keep Knox County one of the least taxed communities in the state of Tennessee. Right now we're 60th out of 95 counties. And I don't mean to be vague with that answer, but I think there's a lot of context there. Realistically, I think that conversation is going to enter the fray over the next 2 to 4 years. I think the other part of this context is, who is the elected county mayor? How the commission interacts with, their agenda and what they, hope to do in that front. I think plays into that. In fact, the matter is, everything you said is very true. I mean, we have a lot of increased demands on our infrastructure. There's a lot of deferred maintenance with a lot of the assets that we own with our roads. My perspective on it is this, and I don't mean to avoid the question of what I'm saying, is I think we as a county commission, as a county government, need to do a much better job and can do a better job. How do we interact with you, the taxpayers, and ask you on a granular level, what is the level of service you expect? Because if you go back behind the curve a little bit and you look at what is the percentage of our roads that we're paving on an annual basis, I think it's a prime example. We maintain a little over 2,000 miles of roads in Knox County. On average, we're paving right now 25 to 40 miles of that a year. And if you do the math on that, we're replacing a road every 60 to 80 years, depending on where it is. That's obviously not sustainable, right? And that's not taking into account the deferred maintenance on some of our schools, some of the large assets that we have. So for me, I think that conversation is going to enter the fray. I think it'll depend on how we interact with the county mayor, what is their agenda. But if I'm in that seat when that time comes, I want the county to make a vested interest and take a vested effort to say, this is the situation, this is the options we as a community have. If we want to continue with the current level of service or a declining level of service, and you want to maintain your tax rate and the current amount you pay, this is what those options look like. And hear the input from the community. And if you want a different level of service, or higher or lower, let's present those facts and really take that into account. My job is to represent all of you. And I think, consider we haven't raised taxes since 1999, this is, over a quarter of a century. If and when that conversation comes into the fray, I want to hear from you all. And I want to make sure that the vote I have, and when I make that vote, is representative of what you want. But I want the county and the people, providing the input to make an informed decision based on where we are.
Okay, that was a yes/no question I asked. Thank you for that. For other candidates, might hear that question from me again. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yes,
Are there any areas of expenses that you see would be worthy of cutting?
Once again, I think that goes back to the changing dynamic we're looking at the next couple of years with our expenses. The first and foremost, part of the, a decent delta that we're going to see in the next few years is some maturation of debt obligations that were created in years past under past administrations. So, we are, on the front end, we have some increasing expense obligations as a result of that. I think there are services that, are not essential that we offer. And you can look, libraries aren't essential services. I'm proposing cutting those, not necessarily. Senior centers aren't essential operations. There's a ton of stuff that the county does where we can cut and we can save money. But it goes back to what does the taxpayer want? And the fact of the matter is, when you look at the bulk of the budget, the vast majority is going to Knox County schools, which we don't have direct jurisdiction over the administration of that budget, and the Knox County Sheriff's Office, which, same holds true there. So if you look at potential cost savings, the vast majority are going to be aggregated within KCS and the Sheriff's Department. That's going to account for, roughly 80–85% of the budgetary spending. So, I think you can go through the list bottom up and say what are the important, the non-essential things that will allow this government to operate. If we need roads, we need safety, we need schools, past that, we don't necessarily need it. So once again, I think that depends on what level of service your taxpayers desire from county government. It's our job to deliver that service.
Were all of the at-large candidates invited tonight?
all of the at-large candidates.
Were they invited to be here?
So originally, we had Betsy Henderson scheduled to be here, and Betsy let me know that, she let my wife know that she could not be here tonight. And so what we did was, is I asked both Garrett and I asked Liz Thomas, through Gary Loe, and Gary told me that she was not available. And so after I found out that Liz Thomas was not available, I reached out to Miss Glenn and just asked her to fill in to speak, and she's not spoken to our group.
Okay, so the other at-large candidates are not invited?
Not from that race, not tonight. Okay, they're on the agenda, but they're certainly welcome to come and speak in the future.
I'm glad I know the backup option.
Well,
I'm just saying.
we got
They had a mayor's forum, that's a pretty good reason.
Any other questions?